Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Welcome. It's so great to be here with all of you, and we're very excited to celebrate with Danny and with Rebecca as they become B'not Mitzvah. It's very special the way we have gradually been able to have these ceremonies in a little bit more normal ways each month and each week. And let me just say, I'm sure our visions of this day and this family's visions of this day have changed over time, and it's lovely and so great to have a whole big crowd of you gathered in the sanctuary to celebrate with Danny and Rebecca as they step into a new role in their families and in their Jewish lives and in their communities as a whole. So Mazel Tov to you, and it's great to be with you. And we also welcome all who are joining us via streaming. We're grateful that there are so many ways that we can bring people together to celebrate with their loved ones at these kinds of moments. So it's wonderful to be together in every way that we can be. I want to invite you as we share this morning together in this service to follow along with the prayers. If you're in the sanctuary, you'll find a prayer book in the seat back in front of you. It's the thinner of those two books. Or if you're in the very front, it's underneath your legs, called Mishkan Tefillah, and you'll find that the prayers are transliterated, and we invite you to join in the Hebrew where you can, and also, of course, in the English readings where it's appropriate. And if you are at home, I also encourage you to follow in the prayer book. You can go to the page on the page that you're looking at. Above the video, there are a few icons. You can click on the one that is called Mishkan Tefillah, which is the name of our prayer book. And if you click on that, you'll find a PDF that opens up. You can put in the page number that we call out in the box in the bottom and press enter, or you can navigate the pages as well by hitting the arrows, and we will be able to share these prayers together. As we begin, we want to recognize that this is an important moment for these two young women, and it's also a very important moment for their parents. So I want to ask Sandy and Carl to take a private moment with Rebecca and Danny and offer them their blessing as they begin this life cycle moment. And Cantor Rhodes will share a blessing with us as we do so, and we can pray silently.
Continue with our service this morning on page 195 with the Baruch Hu, our call to worship. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to please rise, and also invite Danny to join me at the podium here.
La 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 Yotzer all, if you're comfortable with the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer all, uvrei hoshech, osei shalom, uvrei et hakol. Hami'ir la'aretz, v'ladarim alecha barachamim, uftuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid, Maseh Bereshit, Ma rabu masacha Adonai, Kulam b'chokhma asita, Malach ha'aretz kinyanecha, Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, Hoshava maseh yadecha, Ve'al me'oi or shazita, Yefaru chasela, Or chadash al Zion ta'ir, V'nizkei kulanu, Mehira le'oro, Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha'me'oro. Our service continues on page 198 with the first paragraph of Ahava Rabbah. Please join me. Ahava Rabbah ahavtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chem lagedu v'teva, chamolta aleinu, Ba'ava avotenu, v'imotenu, Shebatu v'cha, v'alamdein chukei hayim, Kein techanenu ulamdeinu, Hamachim rachim aleinu, V'tein b'libenu lechavim, ulhaskil, Lishmo v'lilmod ulamed, Lishmo v'lasot ulkayem, Et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ava. We continue in English responsively on the next page. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have imagined you and heard you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity. We give thanks for all the sages and the teachers who bring us an understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully, we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we return to you and find peace. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness store in our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael, be'ava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kivod malchuto le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. Please join me as we chant Ve'ahavta together on page 201. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anoki mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinotah levanecha v'ribotah ba'am b'shitecha b'beitecha uv'letecha v'aderech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha uv'shotam leod al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uv'tavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yetem kedoshim le'eloheichem. Ani Adonai Eloheichem asher hotzeiti etem mi'eretz Mitzrayim li'ot lachem le'elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Please join me in the English. Love Adonai your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Page 203. Sing the song of men and women. Join in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles and earth protected and cherished. A gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content. Where soldiers home, to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed. The song of peace. We continue with the tefillah on page 205. Please join me as we chant the prayers on the next 3 pages together. Adonai sefer teftitak ufi yagid tehilateha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher HaZateva Primeho, U'Mavi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'a'ava. Melech Ozel Mashiach Umakin. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Source of all being, we turn to you as did all people in ancient days. They beheld you in the heavens. They felt you in their hearts. They sought you in their lives. Their quest is ours. Together, help us see the wonder of being. Give us the courage to search for truth. Teach us the path to a better life. So shall we bear our lives in our labors, bring nearer to the world we envision, one of justice, freedom, and peace. We continue together on the next page with the Giverot. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol, atah rav lehoshia, morid hatal, mechayel hayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim. Somech noflim ve'ofei kolim, umatir asurim, umekayim emunato v'shenei avo. Mihamo haba gevurot, umido melaha, melech memid, umekaye, umatzmiya kishua, v'ne'eman ata lechayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. We continue with the Kedusha on page 208.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי בציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Page 210. To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Please be seated. Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the walk of creation. Please join me in singing the Kadshenu. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, b'tzei v'imnuchatenu, kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tein kalkenu b'toratecha, sabenu mituvecha, v'zamkenu b'shuatecha, v'taher libenu לעובדך באמת, והנחילנו, אדוני אלוהינו, באהבה ורצון, שבת קדשך, וינחנו בישראל, מקדש שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Would you join me in the responsive reading on page 212? On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call, God. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves, and the charity to see the best that is in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shodcha levadecha b'ira na'avod. And also, would you read with me responsively, alternating each of these stanzas on page 214 in this prayer? These Hebrew words, modim anachnu lach, mean we thank you, God. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And we pray for peace, sim shalom, on the next page.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, hein v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, barcheinu yotzreinu kulanu kechad, be'or panecha, take a moment now for our own silent prayer and meditation. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Danny and Rebecca, beautiful job singing Oseh Shalom, leading us in worship this morning. You two have already done such a beautiful job. We're so thrilled that all of you are here to celebrate with them this wonderful moment in their lives in which the two of them will become B'not Mitzvah, Bat Mitzvah, a Jewish young adult in our community. It's a wonderful moment they've both worked so hard to get to, and we're thrilled that you're here to live through this wonderful moment in their lives alongside them. We know that both Rebecca and Danny have gotten here with a lot of hard work, right? And they've been supported by their wonderful parents, but also so much by their grandparents who have guided them and supported them in their lives. So it's my honor to get to wish a mazel tov to your grandparents. So to Hyman Brook, who's watching with us on the stream, a mazel tov to you. And to Sam Rothman, who's here with us in person, and to Barbara Rothman, who's also watching with us on the stream. Mazel tov to all of the grandparents who have instilled so much love in the life of Rebecca and Danny. I invite now Sam Rothman to join us on the bima, and all of us to stand in the congregation and up on the bima as we pass the Torah down through the generation into Rebecca and Danny's arms. We continue with our Torah service, Ein Kamocha. Please join us.
Rebecca, as you receive this Torah, Remember its teachings, its wisdom, and its history. Let it guide you this day and all days. As you embrace it, so may you embrace what it has meant for the Jewish people over the generations. Judaism is history and hope, learning and laughter. We pray that the story of the Jewish people continues brightly with you as you grow as a person and as a Jew. May you embrace the Torah your whole life.
Danny, may you cherish the message of this Torah. It is a guidebook passed down from generations of Jews before you who have kept Judaism alive. We take great pride in this day in your acceptance of Torah. This responsibility requires strength, knowledge, commitment, and love. Today you have brought these qualities to the Jewish people and therefore are part of the link of the chain of Jewish tradition. May you embrace Torah your whole life.
We continue together with the words of Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. God Elul Adonai iti, uneromi b'Shemo yachdav. Lecha Please be seated.
The Torah portion for the Shabbat that Danny and I will be reading is called Balak. It comes from the book of Numbers, and my Hebrew reading begins with chapter 22, verse 21. In this portion, King Balak sends a sorcerer by the name of Balaam to curse the Israelites whom he doesn't like. In Danny's reading, the sorcerer ends up blessing the people instead of cursing them. Balaam uses the following words to bless the Israelites. Ma tovu olecha Yaakov. How beautiful are your dwelling places, O Israel, which is now used as an opening song in most morning services.
For the first Aliyah this morning for Rebecca's reading, it's an honor to call up her grandfather, Sam Rothman, and her dad, Carl Rothman. Yamdu l'Aliyah Torah.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayakam Bilam Baboker Vayachavosh et Atano Vayela im Sarei Moav Vayikal af Elohim Kihulek hu Vayatsev Malach Adonai Vadach Lesaton Lo Vehu Vohev Al Atono Usnei ne'avav imaho, vater ha'aton et malach Adonai, nitzav b'derech, v'chobo shalufa be'ado, vater ha'aton min ha'derech, hatela basada vayek bilam et ha'aton lahatota hadera.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Sure, cool. Beautiful job. For Rebecca's second aliyah, it's an honor to call up her aunts, Judy Goldman and Robin Brooke Melvin. Tamhona l'aliyah Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim. V'nosatanu es Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'ya'amod malach Adonai v'mish'ol hakamim gadel mizeh v'gadel mizeh v'tehaton et malach Adonai v'tilchet el hakil v'tilchet et vegel bilam el hakil v'yosef lehakotah v'yosef malach Adonai avo v'ya'amod b'mikom zo asher ein derech lintot yamin usma'ol v'terah haton et malach Adonai v'chobo tahat bilam v'yikol af bilam v'yanet haton hamakel.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet. V'chayei lanu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Beautiful job, Shirkwa. For the third aliyah, Rebecca, it's so an honor, such an honor to call you up for the very first time as Bat Mitzvah. Tamod, 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 habachura habat mitzvah, Rivka Frida bat Shterel Chana v'Karla aliyah Torah chazak.
Baruch et Adonai hamivach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamivach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher boko banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayiftach Adonai et pi ha'aton, v'tohomer leviol am, me'asiti lecha, ki hikitani, zeh shalosh regalim. Vayomer bil'am le'aton, ki hitalot bi luhu yesh kev, Be'adi ki atahavaktik v'tomer ha'aton el bilam. Hello anochi aton ha asher avahavta alai me'odcha ad hayahom hazeh ha'hazkein he's kanti la'asot lecha ko vayomer lo vayikol Adonai et enei belam vayiko et malach Adonai yitzav ba'adeh v'chobo shalufa be'ado vayishtachu le'apa. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Rebecca, beautiful job. Yes, you can leave that. You may have a seat. Invite up Danny to join us at the Torah. Our Torah service continues on page 1056 in your Torah commentaries with Numbers 24, verse 1. And for the first aliyah for Danny's reading, it's an honor to call upon her grandfather, Hyman Brooke, who is joining us on the screen here if you want to watch and follow along.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabonu mikol ha'amim v'saranu toras. Baruch atah noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Vayo bil'am ki tov b'nei Adonai levarech et Yisrael v'lo chalach kefa'am v'facham likohan nechashim vayashet el hamidbar panav vayisa v'yalam et einav vayo et Yisrael shochei lishvotav vati alav ruach Elohim vayisa mishalo vayomo ne'um v'yalam v'dov ve'or unum ha'gever shetum ha'ayim ne'um shomeach Yisrael asher mechazeh shadai echazeh nofel uglui einayim ma tovu ochalacha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher salanu Toras emet v'nosar chayleinu anenu b'cha ranu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shakah to Hyman. And now for the second aliyah for Danny's reading, it's an honor to call upon her uncles, Mark Rothman and Scott Rothman. Yamdu l'aliyah Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Kin halihim nitayu keganohot aleinacha ka'ahalim data Adonai ka'arazichim aleimayim yizal mayim vidahalo yav v'tzaro b'mayim rabim v'yavo me'agag mako v'tinasechem malchuto el motziaho mi'mitzrayim k'tofo rachehem lo yochal goyim sarav vasmotechem yikorehem bechitzav imchat kavo shachav ka'ari uchlavi miyekimenu mevorachecha baruch ve'orerecha arur.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shakah, Mark and Scott. Beautiful job. For the third Aliyah, it's an honor, Danny, to call upon you for the very first time as Bat Mitzvah. Tamod, 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 habachura habat mitzvah, David Esther bat Shtir Chana v'Karla Aliyah Torah Chazak.
Baruch hu Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'chol panu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Vayika'af Balak el Bilam, Vayispog et Kapav, Vayomer Balak el Bilam, Lakov oivai kyoticha, v'hinei v'rach ta barech, ze shalosh ve'amayim, ve'ata baruch lecha el mekumecha, amoti kabed achabecha, v'hinei Mnacha Adonai machavod. Vayomer Bilam el Balak, Halo gam el malachecha asher shalachta alai diboti leimor. Im yitain li Balak milo ve'ato kesef yitzachav lo uchal lavo et bi Adonai La'asot tova ora milibi, asher yedaber Adonai, oto adaber. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah.
Amen. Wow, beautiful job, Danny, chanting from the Torah. Beautiful job, Rebecca. You both did fabulously chanting today and sharing these words of Torah with us. I'd like to invite Lainey, Drew, and Esther to come on up and help us to dress the Torah. I invite you to please rise.
We turn now to the Haftarah, or concluding reading of the Torah service. The Haftarah that Rebecca and I will read is from the book of Micah, beginning with chapter 6, verse 1. Micah reminds the people of the goodness of God and specifically uses the example of guiding Balaam to bless, not curse, the people. We will count one of the most famous quotes from Micah about doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly with God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divrachem and emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo U'Yisrael amo, u'Vinvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Shimuna et asher Adonai omer, kum riv et techarim, v'tishmana hagavaot kolecha. Shimu harim et riv Adonai, V'chaitanim mostei aretz Ki riv la Adonai im amo, ve'im Yisrael, yitvachach abi, ve'asiti lecha, uma heleticha, einai vi, ki heleticha, ve'eretz Mitzrayim, ומבית עבדים, וניתיך, וישלח לפניך את משה, אהרון ומרים. עמי זכרנם היעץ, בלק מלך מואב, ומענה אותו בלעם בן באור, מן השיטים עד הגלגל, למען דעת צדקות אדוני, במה אקדם אדוני, ייקח לאלוהי מרום, האקדמנו בעולות, בעגלים, בני שנה, היוצא אדוני באופי אלים, ברבבות נחלי שמן, האתן בחורי פישי, פרי בני, חטאת נפשי, הגיד לך, אדם מה טוב, ומה אדוני דורש ממך, כי אם עשות משפט, והאהבת חסד, והתניה לחטא עם אלוהיך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. על התורה, ועל העבודה, ועל הנביאים, ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת, על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך, ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך, בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מחדש השבת.
Amen. Great. Wonderful, wonderful job, both of you. You can take a sigh of relief. You did all the Hebrew and all the chanting so beautifully. Now we're excited to hear your speeches, your interpretations of Torah. So you get to switch back to your first language. But before that, we are going to put away the Torah. So we'll ask everybody to rise as we do this last prayer of the Torah service.
Like Danny, my tall portion is about Balaam, when is hired by Balak, the king, to go and cost the Israelites. But I read a different part of the story. Balaam is riding his donkey towards the Israelites, but suddenly the donkey starts to veer off. Balaam beats her and they continue on their way. This happens a few more times. When the donkey stops, Balaam gets off to check what is making the donkey act so strange. Then God opens the donkey's mouth, who lets her speak. What have I done to get beat these 3 times? Asked the donkey. Balaam was shocked that the donkey was speaking. He looked onto the path ahead to see an angel of God standing in the path. I think my Torah portion's lesson is that everyone sees things differently and you should try and see the other side of things. For example, if me and Danny got into a fight about something, I should try to see her side of the argument, even if I think she is wrong. For example, if we were fighting over whose Bat Mitzvah project was harder, I should try and see how hers is harder than mine instead of starting an argument. By the way, mine's definitely harder. Not true! We were going back and forth, but then I realized I needed to see things from her perspective. I was just thinking of everything I had done, but I hadn't noticed she had worked hard too. She needed to be appreciated for the work she had done. For my Bat Mitzvah project, I raised money and used it on produce for the Kilmore Food Pantry. The Kilmore Food Pantry helps families who do not have enough food at home. Many people in this world have enough to eat, but some people don't. I chose my Bat Mitzvah project because many people don't have enough to eat, and I wanted to help. Many people do not realize how fortunate they are to have enough food on the table for everyone in their family. When I was at Kilmore, I thought of the families that I was helping by giving them produce, which they were using to make dinner. It makes a difference to the families that I am helping by giving food that doesn't spoil quickly so they can keep it longer and have stuff to eat. I almost felt like I could tell a little bit what it'd be like to not show how much food I would have per week. Doing this project helped me see things from the perspective of the families that didn't have enough food on their table. Lastly, I want to thank Mom and Dad for supporting me through quarantine. I want to thank Mrs. Cohen for tutoring me and preparing me for today. And thank you to all the teachers I have had at Rhoda for helping to get me where I am now. Thank you Aunt Judy and Aunt Robin for my tallit. Thank you to the Rhoda clergy for helping with my speech in Hebrew so that I would be prepared for today. Finally, I want to thank my sister Danny. Even though you are annoying sometimes, you have helped me to be the person I am today. Thank you for being my partner. Thank you and Shabbat Shalom. You're welcome. No. Okay. My Torah portion is set during the Israelites' 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. It's about a king named Balak who hires a prophet named Balaam to curse the Israelites for money and riches. Balaam in the beginning is tempted to take this offer, but when Balaam reaches the mountain overlooking the Israelites, he realizes what he is doing is wrong and blesses them instead. Balak brings Balaam to another mountain, and again, Balaam blesses the Israelites instead of cursing them. Balak starts to lose his patience with Balaam, so he brings him to the third mountain. Balaam still blesses the Israelites. When Balak asks him why he blessed the Israelites instead of cursing them, like he was hired to do, Balaam answers he couldn't curse the Israelites because it was wrong, and it was against God. Balaam realized that cursing people and looking for the negative only brings the harm to you and other people around you. If you stop yourself and look for the positive, you will have a better after effect on you and the people around you. One experience in my life when I was seeing things negatively but was able to see the positive was during the beginning of COVID. The whole world was on lockdown and it seemed like we were never going to get a vaccine or go places again. I felt like I was in a box. All I wanted to do was see my friends and, believe it or not, could not go back to school. Things got better when I started to look for what I actually could do. I realized I had more time to spend with my family, and I learned a few new things, like hoverboarding, knitting, baking a cake, and learning how to play Minecraft on a computer. Another example is when I didn't know how to balance my Bat Mitzvah studying and schoolwork, so I got to get stressed. It was like there was a weight on my shoulders I couldn't lift. I was sure I would not be ready for my Bat Mitzvah, and I wanted to panic. Once I put together a schedule for myself, things started to look different. Sometimes I would even catch myself enjoying practicing my Torah portion. Having a positive outlook was a huge help. Another example is during the summer when I do dive. In diving, you have your basic dives, a front dive, a back dive, and an optional dive, like a front flip or a back flip. When you go on to continue diving over multiple years, you try to improve your dives going to multiple flips or twisters. When you are trying to get these dives, however, you can experience something called a mental block, where you can't just do dive. You just can't do the dive. You're probably wondering, where is the positive in this situation? The positive is one of two options. One, you try to learn other new dives and get more dives. or two, you can improve your technique on the simple dive and walk your way back up to the dive you're trying to get in the first place. So when you compete, you get a higher score and you don't smack on the water as often. This happened to me many times for the same dive, the front 1.5. For many years, I haven't been able to get this dive, and I even lost my front flip one year when messing up an attempt. I worked on getting other dives, and now I have other dives like front twisters, inwards, and back flips in different positions. So what I have learned is that if I see my mental block in a positive way, I can learn even more. I believe that if you look at the world positively, when you go looking for a blessing, you will find it eventually. If you never try, you won't get anywhere. When you try, you may fail, but you will get back up again and try again. Overall, I think that when you go looking for a blessing or help, you will find or receive it. I learned that it's good to thank people around you for all that they have done for you. So thank you to my parents who reminded me to practice, although it was tough at times when learning new aliyahs. You helped remind me that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, which was my Bat Mitzvah. Thank you to my Hebrew tutor, Miss Cohen, for helping me prepare for this day by helping me learn my 3 aliyahs, Haftarah, and New Prayer. Thank you to my Aunt Robin and Aunt Judy for buying me my tallis. I would also like to thank my family who came in person or are watching on Zoom. I love you all. Finally, and the most shocking one of all, thank you to my sister and Bat Mitzvah partner, Rebecca. For as annoying as you are, at the end of the day, you are my twin, and I will keep banging on the wall between our rooms. But mazel tov to you. You did amazing. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom to both of you. Would you stay there because I want to talk to you a little bit? That was great. You know, I just want to say I don't find either of you annoying at all. You're both lovely, and you did a really wonderful job. Also, your Torah portions are equally difficult. And just so you know, this is not easy. What they did, they made it look easy, but it is hard to do this, and congratulations to both of you. And thank you for your teachings, Rebecca, about seeing things through other people's eyes, really trying to look at other people's perspectives, which I think is something that, as we grow older, as we come of age, we learn to do, right? And young people really have something special to teach us about sometimes the need to look at, even from, and especially from a young person's point of view, at how the world is affecting them and how our actions affect each other. And Danny, the idea of looking for the positive, which most certainly is something that young people can teach us. And one example, you brought up, Danny, the example of COVID. Something that I have noticed is that kids have had the easiest time adapting to some of the realities of COVID, to wearing masks all the time, while so many grown-ups, and myself included, just want to take them off, and it's just so terrible. Somehow young people have gotten used to doing it, maybe because they're in school so much, wearing masks, and really have adapted and taught all of us a lesson about how to make the best of sometimes a difficult situation. And and both of you have taken a really interesting and strange Torah portion and brought these two very important and interesting lessons from it. You talked about this story. It's a very strange and interesting one about this prophet, a non-Israelite prophet who nonetheless can speak with God, has a conversation with God, has been hired to curse the Israelites, and he goes out to try to do it, even though God says, no, you're not, you need to bless the Israelites. But he goes and he gives it a try, and he ends up speaking blessing because that's what God puts in his mouth. And this very interesting story that also you referred to, both of you, this story of the talking donkey, that on the way, the prophet is on his donkey going to the hill where he's first going to try to curse the Israelites, and this donkey won't go because the donkey sees something he doesn't see. The donkey sees an angel of God that's there to warn him, and Balaam is beating this donkey and frustrated with him and yelling at the donkey and saying, "Why won't you go?" And the donkey suddenly begins to speak, right? The donkey suddenly says, "Hey, I'm your trusted donkey. I've never done this before, right? Why are you beating me? Why don't you try to see things from my perspective? Why don't you try to ask what might be going on? And finally, Balaam is able also to see this angel, and the story goes from there. The rabbis really wonder, what is this story of a talking donkey doing in the middle of the Torah text? Some of them wonder, maybe perhaps this is a dream that Balaam is having, and the donkey, there is no talking donkey at all. Others say that this is just a comic relief that's stuck into the story so that we can enjoy ourselves in the middle of the wanderings in the wilderness and all those stories. But, of course, our sages always believe that there is a lesson for us in everything, even the strange little things that we find in Torah. And I believe there is a lesson here in looking at the fact that you don't need to be, a donkey is at the bottom of the totem pole, right? The donkey is the lowest of the low in terms of social class, maybe, shall we say, and respect. But you don't need to have high stature, and you don't need to be eloquent in speaking or have power or access to power to do the right thing. And the question the rabbis are throwing at us is, do we want to be a Balaam, or do we want to be someone like the donkey? Do we want to be someone who's going through life like Balaam was, looking always for the way that he can get ahead, trying perhaps to do the wrong thing that will make him some extra money and get him further in life? Or will you be like the donkey who's willing to see what's right in front of you and willing even to speak out about it, even if it gets you beaten and abused along the way? And I hope that this is something that you can take with you, Danny and Rebecca, when you think about your Torah portion, when you think back about your bat mitzvah, that when you embraced the Torah a few minutes ago, it's not only taking on a tradition, and it's not only learning the laws and the rules and all the things that we should remember, these important teachings from Torah, but it's also looking at the deeper truths of Torah and looking for the things that we, even the generations that have passed down these traditions to you, have missed. Looking for the things that are right in front of us, but we still fail to see, and helping us to understand how Torah can be reinterpreted for a next generation and for a new generation. What lessons you can add to what we have already learned, and what ways that you can speak out, even when it might be frightening and difficult to do so, to make the world a more just and a more fair and a more peaceful and a better place. So let that be your mission as you go forward and bring Torah into the world. And it's a blessing that I can see, both of you, from your speeches and everything that you've done today, that you're ready to do that with us. I want to offer a blessing for you along with Cantor Rhodes on behalf of everybody here. And so I'm going to ask everybody to please rise and ask you to stand here for a blessing along with your parents. You can go right over here and face the ark. And you can stand behind May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
Danny and Rebecca, may God always turn God's face to you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom.
May God always turn to you and shine a light upon you. May God give you courage and conviction. May God help you to see from the perspectives of all those around you. May God always help you to find the good things in life and to look for blessing. May God most of all fill you with love with guidance, with strength, with support, and with shalom, with peace. Amen.
With your two hands, prepare these words. Within your heart rests each verse. And with your voice, our story will be told. With your two hands, hold this scroll. Vishinon tam levanecha, v'dibarta bam. Set these words upon your heart. Vishinon tam levanecha, v'dibarta bam. With your two hands, write your part. We remain standing and continue with Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 282. Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, Lateit Gedula Leotzer Breshit, Shehu Notei Shamayim V'Yosed Haaretz, Umoshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Imah, Ushkina Kenu B'Lofei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Einon, V'anachnu Korim, U'mishtachavim U'modim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar, V'haya Adonai, Lemelech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shemo echad.
Go back to your seats, and if you would please remain standing for just a few moments. We're about to share the Mourner's Kaddish, which we can find on page 294. We think of all of those who have been a part of our lives, who are no longer with us, but for whom we are so grateful. We remember that the Mourner's Kaddish is a prayer of remembrance. It's a prayer to say over someone whom we have lost, but it's a prayer of gratitude and praise. Every phrase of the Kaddish is an utterance of praise to God. So it is with gratitude that we remember all of our loved ones. And in this moment, we especially bring to mind Pearl Brook and Jerry Meldon. Pearl Brook, a grandmother of Rebecca and Danny's, and Jerry, their uncle, whom we especially remember in this moment. As we express our gratitude for them, we remember everything that they have added to the lives of those in this family. And we honor their memory by reciting these words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'amad divrach irutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam l'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal, shmei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'ama v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. You may be seated. I can hear little candies ruffling. It's a joyous sound. And you can kind of keep them, still in your hands for a few more minutes until we've done the closing song and benediction. And then Cantor Rhodes and I are going to cover our heads, and you can let it fly gently. But right now, we're going to ask Lynn Lotenberg to come forward with some greetings and a presentation of some of the things that Danny and Rebecca will be receiving from the temple.
Good morning. There's so many gifts, I got them kind of stuck under there, sorry. Thank you to everyone who's joining us today in person and to everyone on Zoom. On behalf of the congregation, we appreciate your presence. To Danny and Rebecca, I very much enjoyed being led in prayer and learning from you this morning, so thank you for that. Yasher Kolak to each of you, you did a great job. And I get to give you some of your gifts. So first is a beautiful certificate that was designed by a member of our congregation for each of you, affirming this wonderful occasion. The other things in these bags are from the women of TRS, a copy of our Reform Movement's home prayer book. And inside the envelope are a couple of gift certificates. The first is from NIFTY, the North American Federation of Temple Youth, to use towards travel in Israel in your high school years. Here's hoping we can all travel. Another gift is a certificate from our youth committee. And since I'm also the mother of the president of Tristy, I hope that you will be joining the youth committee and the youth group many times in the years to come. And finally, a Kiddush cup from the clergy. It's our hope that you use it each Shabbat as you continue to celebrate your Jewish life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn, who I didn't mention. Not only is she the mother of a Tristy president, but she is also a member of our executive board, and she is just beginning now a year as our president-elect. Thank you for that. As we now prepare to conclude with a closing song and benediction, I want to let you know that the family and everyone, I guess, is invited to go after this service into the social hall to say hello to those who have gathered over Zoom. You can sort that out. I guess it might be a pretty crowded room in there, but after a brief greeting, they're going to go and say hello to those. So if you're joining us on Zoom, please stay and say hello to the family for a few minutes before they continue with their day. And now we'll close with a song.
We'll conclude with a closing song and benediction. And after the benediction is over, we'll invite the family to join right here on these steps. Rabbi Sachs and I will get out of Dodge, and you can gently throw the candy. And we also kindly request that you do pick it all up as much as you can find. So all of you young people out there, this is your big job to get as much candy as you possibly can. So we conclude on page 322 with Ein Keloheinu. I invite you to please join us.
No
Amo yitain Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God give strength to us and bless us all with peace and sweetness. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.